Today, I want to make a comparison between Confucius and Socrates in the field of ethics. In case you don't know what ethics is, it is a branch of philosophy which deals with moral principles. To put it simply, ethics is about what is right and what is wrong, what is good and what is bad, who is a good person and who is a bad person. In today's video, I will focus on one aspect of ethics: how to be a good person and do the right thing, by comparing the perspectives of Confucius and Socrates. Confucius and Socrates were living roughly at the same time in the 5th century BCE. One is the most famous philosopher in China, and the other the wisest person in ancient Greece. Both exerted tremendous impact on Eastern and Western cultures, respectively. Confucius's philosophy, which is known as Confucianism, dominated Chinese culture and society for over 2,000 years. On the other side of the world, Socrates had huge influence in Western philosophy, especially in the field of ethics and human morality. In fact, Socrates is widely considered as the founder of Western philosophy. Considering their huge influence, I think a comparison of them will reveal a glimpse of the differences between Eastern and Western philosophies. Confucius developed a profound system of social philosophy and moral principles. He was concerned about how a society was governed. In his view, a stable and harmonious society did not depend on excessive laws or threats of punishment. What kind of political system there was did not matter so much. It was what kind of people there were that mattered. The ideal society was a society in which each individual behaved according to their moral expectations. The strong belief that morality was the foundation for a harmonious and stable society was the reason why Confucius was most concerned about moral principles of human behavior. In other words, how to be a good person was first and foremost a question in his philosophical teachings. Socrates was also very much concerned about how a society should be governed. But unlike Confucius, Socrates believed in the importance of a good political system. In his opinion, the Athenian democracy, which was a prevailing political system of his time, was a flawed system because it could easily be abused by the masses, most of whom had little education and little understanding of complex issues. A stable society was a society which was ruled by those people with knowledge and wisdom, rather than by popular vote. Such belief was the reason why a lot of emphasis was put on the intellectual development for individuals in his teachings. For Confucius, human beings were inherently good by nature. People were born with a natural inclination towards goodness. To put it simply, every one of us is born good. However, that doesn't mean you are forever good. It is possible that you will become a bad person. Your potential for goodness needs to be cultivated throughout your life. How, you may ask? Well, according to him, you have to keep learning to stay a good person. Education, therefore, plays a fundamental role in the development of individuals, which is essential to a harmonious society. For Confucius, education is not only for transmitting knowledge, it should also be for teaching people how to behave properly in a particular situation. For this purpose, education should focus on developing a person's character, because what they ought to do is not as important as how they ought to be. To put it another way, learning to follow rules in morality, if there are any, is not as important as learning to develop your character. Only when you possess the good character traits do you become a good person and make correct and right decisions. Good character traits can only be learned and cultivated through learning and conscious efforts. It is the only way to refine your character and reach your full potential for virtue. Socrates did not explicitly state that human beings were inherently good, but he believed that virtue was essential for a good life. Like Confucius, Socrates also strongly emphasized the importance of education. In spite of his famous claim that he cannot teach anybody anything, he dedicated his life to the pursuit of knowledge and virtue. He would take every opportunity to teach people, especially young people, how to examine their lives. He did his teaching through dialogue and questioning, a method that became known as the Socratic method, which has been widely adopted in academia, including myself. In his view, education in the form of self-examination and critical thinking was vital for living a good and virtuous life. In the opinion of Socrates, a good person is a person of virtue, and virtue is knowledge. To be a good person, therefore, you must be a knowledgeable person. Socrates believed that if someone truly understood what was good, they would naturally act virtuously. Why are there bad people and some people do bad things? According to Socrates, it is because they don't know good things from bad things. Actions that are considered bad are a result of ignorance or misunderstanding about what is truly good. In his opinion, virtue included qualities such as wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. He argued that a good person strives for self-knowledge, examines their beliefs, and lives in accordance with reason and virtue. Socrates emphasized that virtue is not merely a matter of behaving correctly, but also a matter of understanding why certain actions are virtuous. This understanding comes from knowledge, particularly self-knowledge. For this reason, Socrates famously advocated for the examined life, meaning a life of constant self-reflection, questioning one's beliefs, and striving for moral improvement. He believed that this pursuit of knowledge and virtue is essential for living a good life. Virtuous individuals also contribute to a flourishing society because virtues were not just personal attributes, but also qualities that fostered harmony and productivity in the community. In my opinion, Socrates' concept of virtue involved a broad intellectual pursuit and understanding, but it is rather vague and lacks details. In comparison, Confucius' concept of a good person is more specific and contains more details. In Confucianism, there were 5 constant virtues. But for the sake of time, I will only briefly elaborate on the most important virtues, 仁 and 礼. In English, 仁 means humanity, humanness, benevolence, or love. It is the fundamental virtue of Confucianism. In Chinese language, the word 仁 is written this way, suggesting that it is made up of 2 characters. The character on the left literally refers to an individual person, and the character on the right literally means 2. The combination of these two characters means that an individual is only important in relation with others. You are nobody without community. Within community, people should have sympathy and compassion for one another, and remember that what you do not wish for yourself, do not do to others. In other words, don't treat others in ways you yourself would not wish to be treated. Li can be translated as ritual, proper conduct, or propriety. It is the outward expression of Ren in a specific situation. Li requires you to learn to behave appropriately and differently in different situations, such as dress, table manners, patterns of greeting, ancestor worship, and so on and so forth. For example, you are not supposed to call your older siblings directly by name. You should call them older brother or older sister, which shows your respect for a family member senior to you. Li also requires you to exhibit appropriate behavior in different relationships. According to Confucius, there are 5 fundamental relationships in society: between the king and the subjects, father and children, husband and wife, older brother and younger brother, friends and friends. In any of these relationships, you occupy a particular position, and you should play the appropriate role. For example, you as a subject should obey your king. You as a son should obey your father, and so on and so forth. To conclude this video, although they were from different cultures and different physical locations, both Confucius and Socrates shared remarkable similarities in their ethical views. They both believed that government should be run by people of virtue, and that virtue and self-improvement could be cultivated through education and conscious efforts. While Socrates generally emphasized that virtue was knowledge, Confucius was more specific about what was appropriate conduct in specific situations, and therefore become a good person. Well, that is all for today. As always, thank you for watching this video, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.